You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, Stress Busters and Stress Prevention. The other night, I went out to dinner with two of my closest friends from university. It's wild how 20 years later, the energy between us feels exactly the same, and they make me feel like I'm 20 again. Except now, the conversations are about adult issues. This evening was extra special because we got to go out without our kids. It gave us a rare moment to really talk and catch up about what's going on in our lives. I find it kind of funny how I'm the single parenting widow of the three of us. Yet somehow, I'm still the one they turn to for wellness tips. One friend opened up about his current stress and all the ongoing issues he's been carrying. So I asked him, do you have go-to ways of handling stress in your life when it shows up? He nodded and said, yeah. I pressed a little. Can you name 3? And he goes, well, yeah, drinking. And I'm like, and? And he smiled sheepishly because we both knew the truth. His top 3 methods were drinking, drinking, and drinking. This isn't rare, especially in Japan, where hardworking papas often rely on alcohol to decompress. In fairness, I know my friend's pretty grounded. He's got his 2 feet on the ground. He takes intentional breaks from alcohol to reset, clear his system, and make sure that there aren't like addictive tendencies taking over him. But in this case, I gently kept going. So, what about stress prevention? I asked. Do you have any go-to practices that help you keep stress from building up in the first place? And that invited a long pause. He eventually said, yeah, I guess that's it. I can't really think of one. So I offered this idea. How often do you think you drink? Maybe 3 or 4 nights a week? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, 2 or 3 hours each time? Let's call that 8 to 10 hours a week, right? What if you spent that same amount of time on something preventative, like meditation or walking or going out into nature, anything? It was a theoretical conversation, but it landed. It got us thinking. So now I want to ask you, what are your 3 stress busters and your 3 best ways to prevent stress? Because, come on, stress is part of human life. It's part of growth. And because growth comes with pressure, evolution pushes us to become our next version, and that comes with some stress. But that's all the more reason to know how to relieve it and how to prevent it whenever possible so that it doesn't all pile up. So get this. Later that evening, my other friend turned the question back to me. So, Mae, what are your three? And it's crazy how, even though I teach and preach this stuff, I hadn't exactly named them for myself in a while. It made me think. But I do have them, so I want to share them with you. I think my three top ways to prevent stress are meditation. That's just like mental pressure release for me, like decompression. Exercise. And while I have been a hardcore yogi for most of my life, recently I've been enjoying changing things up just so it feels different in my body. I like to go to the gym on a weekly basis. And because the season has been nice in Tokyo, I've been taking morning walks. Just the simplicity of a walk. It feels really nice to get the body moving in the morning. And my third way, and I don't know if this might come as a surprise to some of you, but is to talk to close friends. I know that sounds like no big deal, like it barely sounds like a stress prevention, but I definitely have an introverted aspect to my personality. And you could refer to me as a deep thinker, a reflecting person, a meditator. But to look at that with some perspective, I have to admit, I do have the tendency to bottle things up alone. So it's really important for me to recognize that. And it's almost like I prescribe to myself, oh, wait, maybe it's time to just talk about it, like let it out. So that's an important one for me. Okay, my three go to stress busters: nature, going to the mountains and going trekking, going to the ocean, even if it's just to look at it, gaze at it from afar. And when I can't do those things, like in urban life in Tokyo, I like to take earthing time in the park. There's something about the coolness of Mother Earth beneath bare feet. I just love it. My second one is travel. And this has just been an important part of my life since my youth. I just really, really enjoy visiting and connecting with people in different parts of the world, different cultures who think differently, eat differently, pray differently, breathe differently. It reminds me that the world is a large place. And again, that whole tendency I have towards being too bottled up or zoomed in on my issues, like traveling just really exposes me to the expansiveness of our life here on earth. And the third one, once again, is seeing people and socializing. And I mean this to be a little bit more of a bigger setting, whereas my stress prevention tends to be more of an intimate sort of release and conversation. Stress busting can be more party setting or a larger group setting, as long as I'm in the mood. Again, the idea is for me to not be alone, and to remember that there are billions of other people out there, and it just helps me get out of my own head and reminds me how small some of my issues are, especially the ones that I've been overthinking about. So now it's your turn. What are yours? Even just beginning to think about these things and identifying them can be a step towards a less stressed life. See you next time. Thank you for listening. Learn more about me and my Kizuki Journaling Mae Y method at my website, kizukijournaling.com. That's KIZUKIJOURNALING.com. or find me on Instagram at MaeYoshikawa.